everyone, welcome back to my channel. I hope you're doing good. My name is Mishka, and in today's video we will be building a family home. I think this home is for a younger family just starting their family, because you'll see that I will include a baby room in this build. So we are building on the bargain bin lot in Willow Creek, and it is a 30 by 20 lot, and I think this will be my first part of me rebuilding Willow Creek the way I see it, the way I want it to be, but still keeping in mind the influence that Willow Creek has. I've heard that Willow Creek is inspired by New Orleans, so I've been kind of researching some designs of houses in New Orleans to kind of keep it within that, but also just doing some things that are that I want to include in Willow Creek as well. I think Willow Creek really does give family gameplay, for me at least, and so I do want to fill it up with a lot of family spaces, but also have some spaces for single, young adult sims, and so forth. But in this build for this build we are doing a family home, and it isn't really a bargain. I know it's called bargain bin, but honestly I don't like budget constraints in the sims. I just want to execute the vision, but I will be trying to do starter lots. I've already finished the next build for this, I guess I'll call it a series of rebuilding Willow Creek, and so I will create a lot that I think is perfect for us. I'm not really creating a save file, I would say, because honestly I don't think I'm creative enough to come up with all the stories for the sims that I would have living there. But what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna create a lot that I think is perfect for the lot, and then whoever wants to can choose, okay, they want to include that build in their Willow Creek save file or whatever, and then write their own story. Obviously I will have some kind of story because there's certain rooms that I will include and choose not to include. So for this room, I don't know why, but I was compelled to build a house for a younger couple that does fairly well, but they are just about to have a baby, so there is a baby room in here. I don't know, maybe I've been into building baby rooms recently, because not the last build but the build before that there was also a baby room in there, but that was kind of what I was going with for this build. And then because I didn't get to try out the restoration workshop kit, I hope I got that name right, and then the kitchen clutter kit, I wanted to try it out in this build. So you can kind of see at the back I built a shed or a garage, which obviously doesn't function as what we know garages to function as, which is to store or hold a car, because we don't have cars yet, and hopefully we will soon. But I use that then to kind of create a shed for the people living in this home, because I guess one of them likes to restore objects, whether that be the mother or the father, I don't know. But I built that shed in there. I also wanted to kind of see what the items was in the kits. When those kits came out, I didn't really watch content because I was really upset by the fact that my laptop had just broken. So I didn't really watch any content on what those kits had in it. So this was really my first time seeing all of the objects in the kits, and I must say I really do enjoy the kitchen clutter kit. I don't think that the restoration workshop kit is necessary. I do think that it comes with some sense of gameplay, because you can restore these objects with the objects that you get with the kit. So I do think it's a good added skill for your sim, but I don't think if I wasn't building on YouTube I would have gotten it, but I really would have gotten the kitchen one because I do like all of the objects from that. So if you haven't gotten it yet, then you maybe want to see all of those items in that kit. I do use a lot of them in this build. So yes, for this build I did have a reference image. I like to have reference images just to kind of guide where I'm going with a build. Otherwise I can get a little bit flustered with building outsides of houses. It's gotten better, but I just use it as a reference point to get the build off the ground, and then usually I'm doing my own thing and including objects based on, you know, the story that I either have in my head or where I want to take my vision with the build. So yeah, I think I mentioned everything that I wanted to with this build. Like I say in the beginning, I hope everyone is doing really good. But let me just explain what I'm doing now. So in the reference image, you would have seen that there's this little, almost like a pergola over the driveway. I'm sure there's a better word for that, but that's the word that's coming to mind now. Now, because I raised the foundation of the house up, it was creating a little bit of a challenge because I was going to use either spandrels in the beginning to create that look, or I was going to use fencing. There's this fence in the base game that I usually use to draw pergolas or to make pergolas, and so none of that was working. And then I thought about this awning, which I've never used yet in the game, and I felt like it was perfect for what I was trying to make, and so I used that one to kind of give that effect. It was a little bit of a hassle because I needed to figure out how to properly raise it up without any guide of it being on the wall, and I probably could have drawn a wall and then placed them on there, which I just thought about, but you know, hindsight is 2020. I've only thought about that just now, that I could have made life so much easier if I just drew a wall and then placed it on the wall. In any event, we got it to where I wanted to get it, but because the other one was just hanging off the column slightly, I thought it looked a bit weird, so I added another one to the end, and then I sized it down just a little bit so that you wouldn't see the flickering. But if you do look up close, it may look a little bit misaligned just because the one is smaller than the other, but I would rather it be that way, because if you look far now, it doesn't look any different, but I would rather have it that way than seeing it flickering all the time, because I placed two of the same object on top of each other. And then I was going to include the hedge fencing first, but I just thought it was a little bit too large. I wanted you to be able to see the path from the driveway to the house, and that was hidden by the other fencing that I used around the back of the house. So I decided to use this hedge instead and then size it down. And then just to clean it up a little bit, I used those columns that I found from I think I found it in Live Edit. I'm not sure from which pack for Live Edit, but yeah, that's where I found those columns. And then a lot of the bushes that I used and the plants I used was from Live Edit as well, because I didn't want to, you know, raise the price as much. If you don't know that, you can access the Live Edit plants and kind of cheat a little bit with how much money your property costs, because all Live Edit plants are 0 simoleons. So that's why I choose to use the Live Edit. And there's also just a larger variety in the Live Edit menu than, or in the Live Edit objects, I should say. I always say menu because if you use Twisted Mixie's build by mod, it is actually a menu that you can go through to find the Live Edit objects that you are looking for. And I wanted to include a lot of landscaping here, but sometimes when you are doing terrain paints, it can look a little bit weird when it goes from stone to soil. Yeah, that's the word I was looking for. So I tried to make the border with the hedges, but honestly that looked weirder than the previous thing that was there without the edges. So I do think that I ended up removing them later on. And then I included this whole other section. I just placed down a chair there and a washing line. And then later on, so I did some of the outside things, and then I went inside, and then I came back out to do the outside, because I like to get a feel of what I do on the inside before I include any kind of furniture or entertaining spaces around the outside. So that's what I've been doing recently. I don't finish the outside off fully. I will first do the inside and then come back outside to finish it up. And then I just wanted to create some differences in the colors, and so I love using that specific color swatch of the flower boxes, and so I just put that around. And then in the front it was a little bit too much with all the purple, so I used the white and black swatch for just that front section that I pulled out. I don't really remember where any of the, you know, the paint that I used for the outside came from, except maybe the stone paint, which I know is from the base game. And then here you can see I was trying to include a swing. I didn't go with that. I think I did only place down a washing line there, so that if you download this build, depending on, you know, the story you are creating, what you would like to include for your family, I then left a lot of the backyard open so that, you know, you can include that and then have your own, have the ability to create your own little vibe on the outside, I guess. And then I wanted to create a section off portion for the buns. I like to do that just so that it has its own place. And then I think later on I will include a hose pipe in there as well. And then yeah, that's it. And then for the car, I placed that one down there. But if they are just about to have a baby, how do people with a single cab truck, where do you put your babies in the car seat? I don't know, I've never seen that before, so let me know. Is like in the middle portion, or would they change their cars when they have a baby? I don't know, but I just put the truck there because I'm guessing that one of them likes restoring objects, and so that's why they have a truck. I don't know, I didn't really like the other cars that was in live edit, that's why I used that one. And so now we've moved inside, and the reason why I didn't include the layout is because the layout will always change in my builds. I do not ever have a layout that stays the same, and so just for the sake of not having to go back and forth with the layout, I will start off with the layout done. Hopefully that's not bad, but it's just because I know it's gonna change, and it did change quite a lot throughout this build. And so just because it would take up so much time of this recording for me to show the layout, I just show you what I have done, and then we go through each room as I do it. So I wanted to start with a little entryway. A lot of the family homes that I've seen, you know, growing up on movies and so on, they always have this entryway with the stairs, so I wanted to include that here. And then I also managed to include a laundry room in this house. Now I do have beef situation going on with the laundry in this game. I just think it can become so excessive, but I felt like it was right to include it here for a family home. So now I'm working on the kitchen, and I decided to go with this, what do you call it now again? I probably should have googled it before, but there's a certain name for this kind of kitchen that I've made here, and so I can't get to it right now, but maybe I'll put it on screen once I'm done with this voiceover. So I went with normal base game counters, a base game stove, and the reason why I chose the white stove is because I went with the white fridge from the, what do you call this, the kitchen clutter kit. And so I wanted to, you know, make sure that the appliances were the same, and that's why I went with the white stove. And I know that the kitchen clutter kit's fridge comes in different swatches, but I just feel like the white one with the stickers and the stuff is just so nostalgic to me, and that's why I chose to go with that one. So that's why I kept that. And then I chose to use that phone instead of the other one because it was a little outdated for the, I think initially my idea was that I was going to make an outdated house inside, but that's just not where I went with it. Like, there are things in this house that feels a little bit outdated, like you would not see that maybe in today's design or, you know, desired designs of homes, but it wasn't that outdated that I would have had that kind of phone in the house. So I went with the other one that is just a little bit more, and that came in a event rewards. I think it was the future one that we got just before. Was it life and death? Oh my word, I'm already forgetting. Or was the futures one now with businesses and hobbies? I'm not sure, but it was with one of the events rewards. It doesn't actually work, it's just for show, which is really sad because in the Sims 4 free play, which is the mobile game, it's not Sims 4 free play. I always say Sims 4 free play, but it's Sims free play. Sims free play, yes. And in that game, they have wall phones and they actually work. There are interactions with the wall phones. So I was really hoping that there was going to be interactions with those wall phones. But when we just got them, they were decor, which I guess is fine. But anyways, and then you'll see that I switched out some of the objects because I realized that there were other objects. For example, I had the dish rack from For Rent first, and then I switched it out with the one from the kitchen clutter kit. I just wanted to use those objects in here and see what I liked, what I didn't like. I like all of the objects, and some of them are functional, like the grocery bag, and I think the cookie jar as well, and also the cereal boxes are functional. So yeah, I wanted to use them here, and I freaking love the backsplash. We only have one from Love Struck, which you would have seen me use in Casa de la Promesa. I use that in every single part of that build because it fit that design that I was going for. But if I wanted to use it here, it would have stood out. It wouldn't really fit. So I'm really glad that we got a more simple backsplash that we can now use in kitchens. Also because a lot of the paint, the wallpaper or the tiles that we get with the game, the backsplash will usually not go higher than the counters, so sometimes you will not even see it. So I'm glad that we have that one that you can now place where you want it. So yeah. And then for the dining room, I don't really remember where any of those objects come from, but yeah. Anyways, and then I wanted to fill the space up with I think it's called a credenza, or a cabinet with plates and stuff in it. I chose to go with this one. I think it's from Cottage Living. And then I placed those wine bottles in there because there was this weird space in there, and also there was a slot on that cabinet, but I wanted it to be placed in that hole, and the slot to place objects was just before that, so I decided to free place it instead with out the cabinet being there and then moving the cabinet into place. And then here I had this small room at the back. I was going to use it as a half bathroom first, but I decided to include laundry. I just feel like if you're playing family gameplay, having chores makes sense. So I wanted to include, a place where Sims would come and do the house chores, like the cleaning. And then I think I probably would have put in the pasta dust vacuum cleaner if I had that. That I think it's a kit, gameplay kit, but I don't have that, so I probably would have placed that in there as well, so that it was a full room that you come to, and you have all of your objects that you clean and do household chores with. The caddy that I placed on top of the laundry was also part of the kitchen clutter kit, and it's called the cleaning caddy, and you can see that there's different kind of cleaning supplies and stuff in there. So I thought that was kind of cute as well to place in the laundry room. And now we are moving on to the first full bathroom. Now this was supposed to be, like I said, a half bathroom first, but there is rooms upstairs that do not have bathrooms, so I thought then they would have to come downstairs and use it, which is fine. So I decided to make this a full bathroom, and decided to include a bath because, like I said, the owner is either she just had a baby or she's about to have a baby, and so that's why I wanted to make sure that there were bathrooms around. I didn't place any of the toddler equipment because obviously, depending on how much time you have a baby as an infant in the game, because you can control that, you would then have to decide when you place down either the high chairs or the training potties for the toddlers and so on. And then for the living room, I kind of misjudged a little bit, and I made it a little bit smaller than I wanted it to be. It did work out in the end, I think. I also wanted this house to be very, in today's world, we have a lot of open plan houses, so you'll have the living room, the kitchen, the dining room, all in one space. I wanted to do the opposite of that. I wanted it to be very close off. I don't know, there's a specific word that people call it, but it's not coming to me right now. So that was my idea, but in doing that, I feel like I maybe made it a little bit smaller than what I wanted. However, I did play test a lot and it worked. So it didn't matter that it was that small. The sim could get around, move around, and use the living room, so that's fine. And I am trying to talk a little bit faster because I did get a comment that I'm speaking too slow, but I also feel like when I speak too fast, I make more mistakes in my speech. And I was reading up on like how to limit that, and they said you need to speak slower. So I'm juggling here, but I think hopefully it's not too bad, and it's really honest mistakes that I'm making. But anyways, and then so I used the couch from, damn it, I should really learn the name of this damn kit. The Cozy Kitsch kit, that is what it's called. I used the couch from that, and then I used the couch from Book Nook. Yes, and then obviously the bookshelves from Book Nook, and then the record player from Party Essentials. And the other record there's like this crate with records in them, that is from Basement Treasures kit. And then the TV's base game, and then I just used other things from all over the game to fill up the shelves. And also that stack of books that I put on the top of the book rack is one of my favorite things to use in the game. I use it so many times. I think I had to stop myself from using it in this build because I was like, you've used that so much in this build, like let it go. And then once again, I struggled with the curtains in this game. I don't know if the curtains are being placed a little bit too high. Like where on top of the window would you place it? So that's what I was battling with when it came to the curtains, but I think everything is fine. So sometimes also I won't place curtains because I know I fight with them, and I will go afterwards and place down curtains. So for example, in two of the rooms upstairs, I didn't place the curtains, but afterwards I went in and placed curtains and then made sure that they were properly, leveled, and also sitting on the window properly. Yeah, I was gonna keep the clock there, but I felt like it was still a bit bare, so I decided to place something else down there, and I just found that painting from the base game. I think that's all for the bottom section. Oh yes, and then I decided to include a TV remote, which I found in debug. Okay, so we are now moving upstairs, and you can kind of see the layout there, but I'm first going to decorate the entrance for the upstairs, or the landing. Is that what you call it? Yeah. Anyways, and then because I had to shift some windows around, I had to make sure that the windows outside were symmetrical, because I just love symmetry in a build. Sometimes when I'm placing windows off center, it really does hurt my soul to do that, but it just sometimes does make sense with the layout, because sometimes you'll place windows and then you'll come in and you'll do the layout, and then they don't work out with the layout that you were going with. And then you can kind of see that, the curtains, I don't know, I just wish they would fit properly where I want them, and I don't have to raise them down and make them make sense. But anyways, so I used the curtains from the base game, and then that cabinet is from the dresser is from Cottage Living. The vase is from the Purism kit, and I forget, the other thing is from For Rent, the little box thing. And then I just used base game. I just used paintings from the base game to decorate the hallway further. But first we will be working on the main bedroom. I tried to make this house look as normal as possible and just tried not to put too much effort into it. In the last build, it was an artist penthouse, and you can see that is not really for a normal person, I would say, because just of the amount of art and color and everything in that build, like a specific kind of person is gonna live in that building, but this family is pretty normal. They work, they have their hobbies, and now they're having a baby, they're starting their family, and so on. So I just wanted it to be just effortless, you know? So yes, but anyways, on another topic, the Sims just put out the roadmap for this next 3 or 4 months, and I really like the colors and all of those things in the roadmap. It's kind of like trippy, psychedelic vibe that I'm getting from the roadmap. And the pack is called Enchanted by Nature, so it turns out that the leak that we had like a few weeks ago is correct. I don't know though if we're gonna get new content, because to be honest with you, everything that has been described in the roadmap and then also on the website, so there was a website called somethingisgrowing.com, I think, and on that website it would change every day and give you a little bit more information about the pack and so on. So I love the ideas of, you know, these kind of nature, being enchanted by it, possibly having fairies. I do think we're having fairies, because yesterday there was a leak of the world, and I'm not going to include any of those photos here. You can find them because I don't want it to spoil it for anyone else. And if you zoom in on one of those photos, it does look like there's a fairy in there, but I just hope that it doesn't look like, you know, costumey. I know someone on Twitter, Sematically, who's usually the one that will leak certain things about upcoming packs, they said that it looked costumey, and I don't know if that's what everyone who wants fairies is envisioning. But in any event, I'm excited. I'm not really gonna let all of the negativity get to me about it, because I can already like envision what I'm gonna build. If you haven't seen my Ravenwood Occult Academy build, I think it's one of my best builds ever. I love every aspect of the build, from the way that it looks on the outside, the landscaping, the stairway, and I can just like think of building that but in a fairies font. It's just gonna be so exciting. So I hope, and also the idea of building an apothecary, because I did read some of the information that was coming out, and it looks like that may be something that we can get with this pack. So I'm excited. I'm really excited. And there's also going to be a lot of base game updates. I think not a lot, 2 base game updates, and hopefully they will, you know, fix gardening so that it works with Enchanted by Nature, and also that they'll fix the freaking raining inside bug, because that is really annoying. But I'm excited for it. We will see. Let me know what you think down in the comments. I just really hope that they do fairies justice. That's all. That's my biggest hope for it. But from the world looks really pretty. So yeah. Anyways, we are now in the main bedroom's bathroom. And so because of the bump outs that I made on the outside, there were these weird little holes, and initially I was just going to cover them up. I was not going to use them in the build and have them just be, you know, just there for show basically. But I thought maybe it would be a nice way to create some separation with the toilet and put it in one of the bump out holes. And then I wasn't going to have a bath here before, but then I thought that, you know, if you have an infant, you would have to then take them down from the top to bath them in the bathroom that is downstairs. So I went through all of the effort of placing, you know, all of the stuff that you see me placing there, but later on I remove it and I place a bath in there once I finished with the baby room. And I went with a pink and like nude for the room. I don't know why I went with that. And yeah, so that was the main bedroom. And then now we are working on the office. I wanted to include an office as well. I feel like your Sims can do so many things on the computers, like it fulfills a lot of their needs. And so I wanted to make sure I included some place for that, but something that was not, you know, like I said before, I wanted it to be normal, you know, like a normal office that you would see in a home. I don't necessarily have a career in mind for the either, you know, the husband or his partner that lives here. So I just included a lot of clutter and use the book nook shelves. And then I don't remember where that desk is from, but the computer is definitely base game, as well as the chair. And then a lot of the books and stuff that I placed around is from base game as well. The tray with a cup and book in it is the book nook kit, and then those sticky notes with the pens is from Everyday Clutter. And then I just placed the light in here and then a rug, and that was it really for the office. When I went in with the clips, because of the fact that I'm building with a whole fold down, I didn't really see that the wall that was not up was kind of really boring. So I decided to then go back in and place a painting on that wall, which you will see in the end clips. Nothing too big. And so now I'm working on the baby room, and those toddler beds that you saw me place down before is so cute, and every time I'm compelled to use them. But this was for a baby that was just about to be born, but maybe I should upload a version with the toddler beds, because those toddler beds are just so cute. The one from Werewolves, there's one from Eco Lifestyle. Yeah, I really like them, and I soon want to build something where I can include that in a toddler's room. But like I said, I was pulled towards making this house for a fairly young couple that I said is doing well in their careers, but they are about to have a baby, which is why I say doing well in their careers, because they have to be doing well to be able to afford this home. So I just included that cabinet is from the Purism kit again, and then the crib is base game. And then those shelves are from Dream Home Decorator, and I put a lot of the base game update things that we got with the Growing Together pack. So a lot of that was like baby stuff. I like to put that book wall art as well in baby rooms, because it kind of gives the idea that they read to the baby while they're in there and stuff. And then I used the chair from Cottage Living. Now, I was worried about the fact that the Sim may not be able to sit in that chair, but I did test it out later on, and the Sim can sit in that chair. And then for the curtains, I used Modern Luxe curtains, just because they are a little bit easier to work with, in my opinion, than the other curtains in this game. And then I used the Oasis, no, not Oasis, I always confuse these two, but I used the Desert Luxe kit curtain rods to clean it up at the top and create that shelving. Later, I was like, it's a little weird that they are sitting at different heights, so I made sure that they were at the same height. And there you can see that I replaced the bath and then put down a laundry basket inside of the room, inside of the main bedroom. And then I also placed down curtains again, and I think I went to the Modern Luxe, but I think that may change. We will see. I did go with Modern Luxe. And then now I had this last room left, so I decided to make it a guest room with a single bed, because I was trying to fit in a full bed, but there wasn't enough space on either side to fit a cabinet. So I rather used a single bed and then used a lamp on the other side. And the bed, I think, I don't actually remember where the bed is from, but anyways, that painting that I placed down there is from the Kitchen Clutter kit, and then that book stack is from Book Nook, and the alarm clock is something that we also got with the events, and I think it does actually work. There's also an alarm clock that comes with Cozy Gamer, and that one also works as an alarm clock, so it will actually wake your Sims up. And then I placed down curtains from base game once again, but I once again struggled to get them. Like, should they sit at that height, or should they sit at the height that the game is making me put them at? I don't know. I'm confused. We don't use a lot of curtains in our house. It's blind. So yeah, anyways, never mind. And then I wanted to have a small seating area for whoever is staying in this guest room, decided to put, I was gonna leave the orange color first, but I decided to go with white on the other side instead, just to mute it out a little bit, not have it be so intense. And then I ended up making the ones that are currently orange. I think I made them yellow, so that there was just some pop of color in the room, because if you look at it, it's quite neutral. And then I had this open wall. I was going to place a shelf first, but I ended up going with a base game mirror and then just using the tool mod to pull it down, because for some reason the mirrors are really high in the game. And then I was going to place down a barbecue on the porch area, but it was a little bit small, so I decided against that, and then just placed down plant decoration. And you'll see me do a barbecue area. That plant decoration, it's from Seasons, I think. I may be wrong, but yes. And then I decided to create this small area with a barbecue, and then also to add additional landscaping to that little part that you see me doing now, so that I can add in a tree and create some shading as well. And then you would have seen me put some terrain paint at the bottom of the washing line, and that's because it makes sense to me that, you know, when you are washing clothes, you're hanging it up, the grass may not be as pristine as in the rest of the places, because you are, you know, walking there a lot, the clothes are hanging there, it's getting wet and stuff. So just to create some shadowing and realism, that's why I placed down the terrain paint there. And now I'm currently working on the shed at the back. I will say the objects are pretty realistic for a workshop. My dad had a workshop, and I think one of the most realistic parts of it is the sawdust rug that you get with it. I'm going to place that down everywhere in a minute, because usually there is sawdust everywhere when they are cutting wood. So I do prefer the kitchen clutter kit, just because I feel like I would have a kitchen in every single house. It's a little bit more versatile than, for example, this restoration workshop kit. I do think it's kind of cool that, you know, you can restore that fridge, the stove. There's also a microwave and I think a kettle that can be restored, and then you can have that later in your home. So I know, I guess it's up to you what you want in your game, but if I had to choose one, I would go with the kitchen clutter kit, because like I said, it's just more versatile. And then I did find some more tools in debug, just to fill out the space with more tools, tape measures, sanding blocks, hammers, and so on. But I'm going to finish up the rest of the build, but this is where I'm going to end the voiceover today. You can find this build under SimWithMishka or hashtag SimWithMishka on the gallery. If you have any other ideas, please let me know in the comments. I'm open to ideas. And please don't forget to like this video if you enjoyed it, and also to subscribe if you would like to see more. Thank you so much for being here, and I will chat to you in the next one. Bye bye.